Hey all, Zane here. This is a video that's a little overdue. I probably should have made this a little bit sooner um, because it's a hard video to kind of have to make because it requires me to be honest about how I'm feeling, and while that's not necessarily something I struggle with per se, um, it's also not exactly easy. I'm already sounding way too serious, like I'm doing a fucking YouTuber apology for getting canceled. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to make this video real quick. I'm probably not even going to edit this really, um, but I have to be honest about where I am with Black Dragon Beginnings. At time of writing of recording this it's been about a month since I really started putting out content for Black Dragon Beginnings, um, and in that time, stuff has happened, and it's why I'm making this video. Um, I made a crack at some point during the post credits, a post credits message in Darius the Conqueror about how I was never going to try and design a game, fan made or otherwise, on my own ever again. Because Darius the Conqueror was. Um, Actually, I think it's better to put it this way. I live in perpetual fear of not finishing projects because I have an extreme track record of starting projects and then never properly finishing them or going back to them in any capacity to try and work on them again. Um, and it's a thing that very much haunts. It's a character trait of mine that very much haunts me. And as a result, it has a tendency to cause me to do some pretty stupid shit um, when it comes to working on projects. Most of all, hyper focusing on things I'm working on and spending all my time going into them, uh, spending all my time going into them, and to the detriment of everything else. And unfortunately, I very much made the same mistake with Black Dragon Beginnings. The thing is that I call Darius the Conqueror a finished product, but it really isn't. It's a hack that I cut a fair number of corners on, namely not really making any effort to polish any of the level design that was in it. Um, I didn't finish all the support conversations, and I just generally did not take the time to polish it ever. And that was something I wanted to try and remedy when I worked on Black Dragon Beginnings. Um, that didn't exactly end up happening. So I mentioned when I finished BDB's Chapter 4 video that I was going to take a break from working on the project for a couple weeks, maybe focus on something else. What I ended up actually doing was I wrote the main story script for up through Chapter 14 of Black Dragon Beginnings, and then I proceeded to design and uh, do all of the gameplay stuff for up through Chapter 13 of Black Dragon Beginnings, which was not the original intent. The original zero point 0.2 update was supposed to just be 3 chapters and all of the support conversations that the player would encounter in that stretch of gameplay. But instead, I got so into writing the story and so determined to just barrel through everything that I ended up burning myself out. And that caused me to get really depressed and really unmotivated to do anything for a couple of days. And there's just a lot that has been going on with the project. And as a result, I've ended up kind of putting myself on hiatus from Black Dragon Beginnings. I've taken some time to work on other projects. And that has definitely helped. I've made it no secret that this year has been really difficult for me, even ignoring a lot of the stuff that's been going on in the wider world and how seeing all of it affects me. I've just been unable to get my act together this year. I have not been sleeping very well at all. I've been having trouble getting myself to bed at a reasonable hour. And I've been having trouble with properly structuring my days, trouble with actually sitting down and doing work that I want to do. And yeah, that's kind of just been a thing that has been a problem with this project as well. And when you combine all of the ways that I have really not been taking care of myself and stuff like that, it really does erode my motivation to continue work on this project, which sucks because I have already put a ton of work into this project, and I also feel like I basically have nothing to show for it. Because I've just blitzed through a whole bunch of gameplay that has no real story attached to it. And, you know, the support conversations for any sort of Fire Emblem anything are really a humongous bugbear, because I do enjoy writing them in the same way that I enjoy writing the story. Sometimes I enjoy writing them more than the story because, you know, they're a chance to really figure out who your characters are. But they're also a logistical nightmare from a workload perspective. And this is where I come back to the whole, you know, don't try to design a game on your own, because the one thing that I have, that Fire Emblem ROM hacks have tricked me into thinking, is that it's something that I can do all on my own. And that's partly for two reasons. One is because Darius the Conqueror kind of taught me that I could do most everything on my own. Like, I didn't really need a whole lot. Like, I could just kind of blunder through and turn out a reasonably good product, just using my knowledge of FE Builder and, you know, my knowledge of what I like and dislike in Fire Emblem games. This project is making that a little bit more clear, that trying to do everything on my own, particularly when it comes to writing, is difficult. But there's another side to it. I've talked also about, I've been pretty open in various sources about how much trouble I've had integrating with the Fire Emblem ROM hack community. Um, I've essentially I've put myself in a sort of a self-imposed exile from FE Universe. You know, mostly just because there's some people there who are good, but a lot of the community just I very strongly dislike their attitude. Um, and I've tried to have, you know, like a sort of team together for I tried to get sort of a team together for Black Dragon, just, you know, for just if nothing else, for just to have other people in the room, you know, helping to fix issues. And the early experiences I had with that were extremely uh, demoralizing, because I ended up with a lot of people who I ended up getting a couple of people on the team who were not let's just say they were young and they didn't really know the best way to communicate criticism, and particularly with someone like me, who I've always had a really rocky relationship with criticism. Um, and I've gone into that. You know, I do like to think that I am getting better, a little bit better at least, at weeding out helpful criticism from stuff that's not as helpful. But there are times where you have criticism that is presented in enough of a compelling way that even if when you take a second look at it, you're like, okay, this person does not actually understand what the hell I'm trying to do. It's still enough to demoralize you. There were a couple comments on videos from the Darius the Conqueror videos that they were not worded. They may not have necessarily been like terrible advice or invalid criticisms, but they ended up kind of really hurting me, even if they weren't inflammatory. And it's that dichotomy between not just I want to have other people in the room helping me, but I also am not really sure, like I have such trouble responding to criticism, even when it's, you know, good advice. You know, I have enough self-esteem issues that I tend to react a lot more strongly to criticism than I probably should. Which I realize, you know, none of this is just a me problem. But it's something that I have never been good at navigating. And there's also just the issue of, you know, I'm the guy who most knows what my vision is for this project, both from a story and to some extent from a gameplay perspective. And it's hard to it's not always easy to communicate that to other people, and get the same sort of thing. And then, of course, there's just the third layer of this, which is, you know, if you're not passionate about working on a ROM hack, then what's the fucking point? Because you're not getting any money out of this. And in the end, there's also just the matter of, you know, there is a sense of kind of futility in this, because, I mean, yeah, you're not getting paid any money. This isn't going to help me with being able to live my life. But there's also just the matter of, you're trying to tell a Berserk or Game of Thrones or Vinland Saga style story through the medium of a kid's game, and there is just the inherent dissonance between the two tones of that kind of story. I mean, a lot of people have kind of brought up that idea to me, and it's one of those things where, like, if you are willing to provide me with the people who can actually, make a game that has the aesthetics to match, I'll happily make it. But, for the time being, Fire Emblem ROM hacking is just the most I know how to do when it comes to making video games. And the thing is, I say all this like I'm feeling really defeated with this project. And I'm certainly frustrated. And you can probably hear that in the tone of my voice. But I'm not necessarily defeated. Like, this is not me saying that I'm not going to work on this project anymore, because I don't want to perpetually abandon everything I start. And for that matter, I'm not above, just for the hell of it, sitting down and actually working on it. The point I'm trying to get across is that I have made a mistake with this project, and it has affected my ability to enjoy working on it. And recovering from that is going to be a process, so I guess in the end, the too long don't watch for this video is that Black Dragon Beginnings is going to be on something of a hiatus, and I'm going to have to reevaluate how my workflow for the project going forward, because I don't want to try and have the next update be up to through chapter 14 or 13 or 14, and all of the story and support conversations for it. That's just not feasible by myself. And if it is possible for me to bring other people into the fold on this project, I've already, done some talking with some friends like Armory and Zappy about them playtesting the thing. And and you guys are probably watching this. I am definitely up for having you guys playtest it at some point. I'm just not sure when that's going to be. So for the time being, don't expect any updates for Black Dragon Beginnings until next year. Because quite honestly, I will not be bringing out new content for it this year. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I've talked about everything I really wanted to. I'm still very much learning about my creative process and how I function best, how I am the most productive, and the most productive with a product that I am happy with. And I think that regardless of whatever skills ROM hacking does or doesn't teach you about real game design, quote unquote, it can be a good experience for actually figuring out how to approach a real video game project. And the thing is that I've got other things that I can work on in the time, just to keep myself busy and keep the Prime pumped, for when I inevitably do decide to return to this project, which, you know, maybe sooner than I think it would be, but only time will tell with that. So that's basically all I wanted to say. Is just, you know, for the limited fan base I have cultivated here on YouTube, it's gonna be a little while before I have anything major to show, and I'm not entirely happy about it, but at the same time, it's kind of how things have to be at the moment. Um, so yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching this video if you did. If you're a friend and you feel compelled to reach out for me, you know, go ahead. I certainly won't complain about that. Other than that, take care of yourselves. I certainly got to follow that advice myself, which is why I'm going to go to bed once I am done here. See you later.